If I showed you a photo of an American GI and a German Wehrmacht soldier fighting shoulder to shoulder, firing their rifles in the same direction, you would tell me it's fake. You would say it's a Photoshop job, or a scene from an alternate history sci-fi movie. In World War II, the lines were drawn in blood. We were the Allies. They were the Axis. Good versus evil. We didn't help them. We destroyed them. But history is strange, and war is even stranger. On May 5, 1945, just 5 days after Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker, the rules of the universe broke down in a medieval fortress high in the Austrian Alps. It was called Castle Itter. And on that morning, a lonely American tank commander named Jack Lee found himself outnumbered and surrounded by a fanatical division of the Waffen-SS. He had no backup. His radio was dead. His tank was about to be destroyed. To survive, Captain Lee did the unthinkable. He turned to the enemy soldiers he had been killing for the last 2 years, the regular German army, and asked for help. And the Germans said, "Yeah? Hi, I'm Ray. My grandfather fought across Europe, and he always told me, the enemy is just a man in a different uniform. Until the SS shows up, then everyone is on the same side." Today on G.I.Stories, we are declassifying the weirdest battle of the 20th century. This is the story of how tennis stars, French prime ministers, American tankers, and Wehrmacht officers banded together to fight the final boss of the Third Reich. Chapter 1, The Golden K. To understand why this battle happened, we first have to look at the prize. Why were hundreds of SS troops trying to storm an old castle in the middle of nowhere? Schloss Itter wasn't just a pretty building. It was a high-security prison. But it wasn't for ordinary criminals. It was a golden cage for the VIPs of the Third Reich. Trapped inside its walls was a bizarre collection of French celebrities and politicians that the Nazis had kidnapped. There was Edouard Daladier and Paul Renard, two former prime ministers of France. There was General Maurice Gamelin, the former commander of the French army. There was even Jean Baratra, a famous tennis champion known as the Bounding Basque. These men hated each other. The politicians blamed the generals for losing the war, and the generals blamed the politicians. They spent years arguing over dinner in the castle dining room, but they all shared one fear: execution. It is May 1945. The war is ending. The German Reich is collapsing. The regular German soldiers to Wehrmacht just wanted to surrender and go home. But the Waffen-SS et Hitler's elite fanatics were not so. They were retreating into the Alps to create a last stand. The SS commander in the region had orders: do not let the French prisoners be liberated. Use them as hostages for negotiation, or if that fails, execute them all. The prisoners inside the castle could see the SS units gathering in the woods. They knew the Americans were coming, but they also knew the executioners would arrive first. On Mai 4 Teache, the prison guards, sensing the end was near, fled the castle. The prisoners were free, but they were trapped. Outside the thick walls, the woods were crawling with SS troops, waiting for the order to attack. They needed a miracle. Chapter 2. The enemy of my enemy. The miracle came in a very strange form. A few miles down the mountain, in the town of WWII, a German Wehrmacht unit was trying to keep order. Their commander was Major Josef Gangl. Gangl is a fascinating character. He was a career soldier, a hero of the Russian front, heavily decorated. But by 1945, he was disillusioned. He had seen the horrors of the Nazis. He was secretly working with the Austrian resistance to protect the local civilians from the SSEs, who were shooting anyone trying to surrender. When a messenger from the castle reached Gangl begging for help, Gangl faced a dilemma. He wanted to save the French prisoners, but he only had a handful of men, maybe 20 soldiers, and one truck. If he marched on the castle alone, the SS would slaughter him. He needed heavy firepower. He needed a tank, but he didn't have one. So Major Gangl did something that would be considered treason. He grabbed a white flag, jumped into his Kubelwagen, and drove toward the American lines. About 8 miles away, the American 12th Armored Division was advancing. Leading the reconnaissance unit was a Sherman tank named Besotten Jenny. Standing in the turret was Captain Jack Lee. If you ordered a tough American soldier from a catalog, you would get Jack Lee. He was short, stocky, chewed on a cigar, and had a reputation for being aggressive. Imagine the scene. A German officer's car drives up. Lee swings his .50 caliber machine gun around. Gangl steps out with his hands up. Through a translator, the German major explains, "I have French VIPs trapped in a castle. The SS is going to kill them. Primera, why nete? To help, but I need your tank." Captain Lee looked at the German. He looked at the map. This was technically a suicide mission, going deep into enemy territory with a German officer as his guide. It could be a trap. Lee chewed his cigar, shrugged, and radioed his HQ. His message was basically, "I am taking a German major and going to rescue some French big. Be back for dinner." And just like that, the strangest alliance of World War II was formed. The Besotten Jenny roared its engine, and the Wehrmacht truck fell in line behind it. My Derol CTA paused for a second. Can you imagine the tension in that convoy? American soldiers sitting next to Germans, checking their weapons, unsure if they are going to shoot the SS or shoot each other. This story is so wild that a movie is actually being developed about it. But you are hearing the real details right here. If you are enjoying this deep dive into history, please smash the like button and subscribe. It helps us fight the algorithm. Right? Back to the castle. The sun is setting, and the enemy is waiting. Chapter 3. The ascent to the fortress, the road to Castle Itter, was narrow, steep, and winding. Along the way, Lee had to leave some of his tanks behind to guard a bridge. By the time they reached the final ascent, the rescue force was pitifully small. It consisted of Captain Lee's single Sherman tank, Besotten Jenny 14, American G.I.s, Major Gangl, about 10 Wehrmacht artillerymen, and a teenage Austrian resistance fighter named Hans Waltel. When the tank rumbled through the medieval gate of Castle Itter, the French VIPs rushed out to greet their liberators. They expected a massive armored column. Instead, they saw one dusty tank and a truck full of Germans. The French were confused and angry. Where is the rest of the army? Demande. Captain Lee climbed down from his tank, looked at the former prime ministers of France, and said, "I'm it. Now get inside." That night, the atmosphere in the castle was surreal. In the ancient dining hall, French politicians drank wine that had been looted from the cellar. On the battlements, American G.I.s and German Wehrmacht soldiers shared cigarettes. They set up machine gun nests together. You watch left, I watch right. Major Gangl and Captain Lee sat over a map. Lee took command. He didn't care about rank or nationality. He positioned the German soldiers at the south wall and the Americans at the gatehouse. For one night, the uniform didn't matter. They were just men trapped in a stone box, surrounded by death. In the darkness of the woods, they could hear the SS moving. Branches snapping, engines revving. The Waffen-SS knew. The Americans were there, and they were furious. Chapter 4. The siege begins. The attack started at dawn, May 5th. The SS didn't just bring rifles. They brought heavy weapons. They had set up 88mm anti-aircraft guns and mortars on the ridges overlooking the castle. Boom! The first salvo hit the castle walls. Stone exploded. Then, they targeted the tank. Besotten Jenny was parked at the main gate to provide heavy fire support. But she was a sitting duck. An 88mm shell slammed into the Sherman. The tank erupted in flames. Luckily, the crew was inside the castle, but their heavy gun was gone. Now, the defenders had only rifles, submachine guns, and limited ammunition against an estimated 150 to 200 SS troopers advancing up the hill. The firefight was intense. SS soldiers climbed the slopes with ropes and ladders. From the walls, the Wehrmacht soldiers fired their Kar 9 8K rifles with precision. The Americans fired their M1 Garands. Even the French prisoners joined in. Paul Reynaud, the 66-year-old former prime minister, grabbed a submachine gun and started firing out of a window, despite Captain Lee yelling at him to get his head down. But the situation was getting desperate. The ammunition was running low. The SS were getting closer to the gate. The radio in the tank had been destroyed. Lee had no way to call for reinforcements. They needed to send a message to the American main force. But who could escape the castle? Jean Barotra, the famous tennis star, stepped forward. He was famous for his athleticism. He basically said, "I'm fast. I can make it." In a scene straight out of an action movie, the tennis champion vaulted over the castle wall, ran through a hail of SS bullets, crossed the enemy lines, and disappeared into the forest to find help. But back at the castle, time was running out. Chapter 5. The Death of Major Gangl by Noon. The SS were preparing for the final assault. They were firing Panzerfausts. At the gatehouse, Captain Lee was running from position to position, rallying the men. Major Gangl was on the battlements, directing his German troops. Then, tragedy struck. Paul Renaud, the stubborn French politician, was exposing himself to fire. Major Gangl saw a sniper aiming at the Frenchman. Gangl didn't hesitate. He ran toward Renaud to push him out of the way. Crack a sniper bullet hit Major Josef Gangl. He collapsed and died instantly. Think about the irony of this moment. A German Wehrmacht officer took a bullet to save a French prime minister, while fighting alongside an American captain against the idiot, a hero fighting against his own country's regime. With Gangl dead, the morale wavered. The SS were breaching the lower walls. Captain Lee ordered everyone to pull back to keep the central tower. They were down to their last magazines of ammo. They fixed bayonets. This was it, the Alamo in the Alps. Chapter 6. The Cavalry Arrives. It was 4 p.m. The SS were setting up to blow the heavy oak doors of the keep. Lee was checking his Colt. .45 pistol. He knew that if they were captured, the SS would execute everyone instantly. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the valley. Not the crack of a rifle, a low, deep rumble. Then, the heavy thud-thud-thud of a .50 caliber machine gun, but it was coming from behind the SS lines. The tennis player, Jean Barotra, had made it. He had found the American 142nd Infantry Regiment and guided them back. A relief column of tanks and infantry smashed into the rear of the SS formation. Caught between the castle walls and the fresh American tanks, the SS broke and ran. They melded back into the forests. The battle was over. Captain Lee walked out of the smoke-filled castle. He was exhausted, dirty, and alive. The French VIPs were safe. The American relief soldiers looked around in confusion. They saw American G.I.s high-fiving, German Wehrmacht soldiers. They saw French politicians holding guns. They saw the burning wreck of Besotten Jenny. The surviving German soldiers, Major Gangl's men, were taken prisoner, as per protocol. But it wasn't a normal capture. The Americans didn't treat them roughly. They respected them. They had bled together. Conclusion: Captain Jack Lee received the Distinguished Service Cross. He went home to New York. But like many heroes, he struggled with civilian life and sadly drank himself to death in 1973. Major Josef Gangl was honored as an Austrian national hero. Today, there is a street named after him in the town of Wurgl. He is remembered not as a Nazi, but as a man who chose humanity over ideology. The Battle of Castle Itter is a strange footnote in history. It proves that the world isn't always black and white. On that day, the uniform didn't matter. The politics didn't matter. What mattered was that a group of men saw evil coming up that hill, and they decided to stand together to stop it. It remains the only time in history that the Star-Spangled Banner and the Wehrmacht Iron Cross flew over the same fortress, defending the same people. What do you think? If you were Captain Lee, would you have trusted the Germans? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more stories about the weirdest moments of warfare, make sure to subscribe to G.I.Stories. We are just getting started. This is Ray. Stay safe.